I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and this is my son, Henry.
Hi.
And we're here today on the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. We're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to do play-by-play of a fantasy draft, and we're going to do it in the Fantasy Championship. This is the premier championship on the web, in my opinion. $300,000 grand prize. It's a great championship, Henry. It should be a great draft tonight. A lot of the best drafters on RT Sports are in this league tonight. They've been talking about it in the draft lobby. Let's talk about this league first. So the Fantasy Championship, I want to set the stage for you a little bit. So it's 10 starters, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex positions, which are running back, receiver, tight end, defense, and kicker. So that's the starting lineup, kind of your standard league, Henry. So these drafters are going to be kicking off here in a few minutes. We're going to go over all the picks. Henry and I are going to talk about them as they happen, and we're going to break down the draft, give our thoughts on where guys are going. You excited about this, Henry?
Yeah.
So if you want to get in the Fantasy Championship, go to rtsports.com, and you can click on the football link at the top of the page and go into Money Leagues, or you can just go to the fantasychampionship.com. That's another way you can enter it. It's just fantasychampionship.com, and you can sign up there. It's $250 to enter this contest to win $300,000, or you can do 3 teams for $700. We give you a little bit of a discount if you sign up for more than 1 team, and I know a lot of people do that. They want to give themselves the best chance to win this huge grand prize in the Fantasy Championship, $300,000. You get league prizes too, Henry, so if you win your league and advance to the championship, you get money for that as well. So it's not just making it to the championship round to win the money. So this is very exciting, Henry.
Yeah.
You've done some drafts so far this year?
None yet.
None yet. You got one coming up, though, so maybe this one will give you a little bit of insight into where people are going. I've done a lot so far, so I kind of have a decent lay of the land. So it'll be interesting to see how these drafters are approaching things. I want to set the stage for the drafters, though. Having first pick, and I apologize if I mess anyone's name up, we're going to talk to these drafters after the draft is finished. I'm going to interview some of these players on here, and they're going to talk about what they did during the draft, maybe what surprised them, what didn't surprise them, are they happy with their teams. So first pick is Jared Eric, and then second pick is Judd West. Then Mauro Dandria has the third pick. Ralph Chiavon, who we've had on the show before, he talked about best ball formats with me before. He has the 4th pick. Chris Howat has the 5th pick. Ray Cowart has 6th. Nancy Page 7. Jeremy Brock, who we've had on in our Champions draft, he has the 8th pick. 9th pick is Andrew Cummings. 10th pick is Jim Robertson. 11th pick is Tom Delbridge. And 12th pick is the DJ. So that's the stage. We're about a minute away from the draft starting. Henry, first pick. Pretty set in stone for every league I've seen so far.
It's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. So I think Jared's going to take him with the first pick. He has about 50 seconds before that happens. So I would expect him to take Christian McCaffrey at that point. So not much debate probably with the first 3 picks. You have Saquon likely going 2nd or 3rd, and Ezekiel Elliott is the other debate for 2nd or 3rd. Then after that, it gets a little tricky. You go Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Which way do you want to go there? I think that's when things start to get a little interesting. How would you look at that 4th pick? You like going Thomas, Kamara? What do you feel safe with?
Well, around there, I would rather get Thomas there. He's just the best receiver in fantasy right now, no doubt.
Yeah, he's definitely very steady. He has a ton of upside on a weekly basis. He had a record-breaking season last year. So we're about 7 seconds away from kicking off, seeing what Jared is going to do. And I'm going to show you this draft board at times during the draft as well, so you'll be able to see what's going on. I'll show you an example of that right now to show you what that looks like. So here's the draft board. And he took Christian McCaffrey, not a surprise. Now Judd West is up. He has the 2nd pick in the draft. And, again, it's between Barkley and Elliott here. Who do you favor in this 2nd spot?
Personally, after last season, I had Zeke on my team. I got him late. I did not like him, but Barkley was hurt most of last year. I would take Zeke here.
You take Zeke. You like that offensive line better. Think he's a little steadier. I'd probably go Barkley personally, and that's what Judd did. Judd went Barkley, and then 3rd pick, Mauro Dandria. He took Ezekiel Elliott. Now we got the 4th spot. So, Henry, that's where it gets a little tricky. Ralph Siobhan has that 4th pick. Gets a little harder here. It's be interesting to see if he goes with Thomas or if he goes with Kamara, and he went with Kamara. So, first 4 picks, we have McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara. Really nothing surprising at this point. I don't think we'll see many surprises maybe until a little later in this first round. These guys are moving pretty quick right now. So we have Chris Cowart on the clock right now with the 5th pick. So as you go Thomas here, I don't know what other back you take in this spot. It's kind of hard. You got a lot of guys you can choose from here. I mean, Dalvin Cook, but a lot of people have injury concerns about him. Chris, surprising pick. Go ahead, say it, Henry.
Tyreek Hill.
That's the first surprise of the draft. 5 picks in, and Chris takes Tyreek Hill. I guess he thinks he's going to outperform Michael Thomas. A little surprising. I've not seen that yet this year.
Yeah.
You're a big Chiefs fan. Would you have gone that direction, or you probably?
I'm a huge Chiefs fan, but it's hard to pass up on Thomas. I do see Hill having a great year this year, but he also has to compete with Kelsey. There's not much to compete with Thomas except for Jared Cook, really. So I would take Michael Thomas there.
So Ray, now he gets Thomas with the 6th pick, Ray Cowart. So not a surprise him going Thomas there. He's probably a little bit surprised to see him still there. So that's a good pick for Ray probably. He's probably feeling pretty good about getting Thomas after Hill. And now Nancy Page is up, goes with Alvin Cook, Henry. Kind of talked about him earlier. Huge upside.
Yeah.
Right? He has to be on the field, though.
Yeah.
That's a big issue with him. Health. He was having a huge year last year. Again, missed some time because of injury, though. It's kind of a run-first scheme these days, though, so that's good for Cook as well. And now Jeremy has some question marks here. And go ahead, Henry, your namesake.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry goes with Jeremy with the 7th pick. He takes Derrick Henry again. Touchdown machine, going to get a ton of carries.
Yeah.
Probably not many receptions, though, but still. It's tough to pass up that production in that offense. You like Derrick Henry this year?
I like him a lot. He gets the touchdowns, and he can get some yards on the ground.
All right, next pick, Andrew Cummings. As you see here, he took Miles Sanders. Now, this guy has a little bit of some questions for people, I think, Miles Sanders. Not everybody's completely sold on him this year. Do you like him?
I like him a little bit this year, yeah.
So I think the questions are, is he really that elite back? Can he be that huge of a player, be a legit top 5 fantasy back? I think there's some questions about that. So he's a little bit of a polarizing pick right now. Personally, I like Sanders, especially in that offense. They've produced some good backs before. Now, Jim Robertson had the next pick. He took Austin Eckler. Again, another guy who's a little bit, polarizing, but in a PPR league, it's tough to pass him up, right?
I like him a lot. He gets the receptions. He gets the touchdown. There's no Gordon. Not really many people to compete with, and he's going to get the work done.
Yep. So Austin Eckler goes 10th, 11th pick, Tom Delbridge. He goes the first rookie off the board, Henry.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep. So we've had a top 5 fantasy back that's been a rookie for the past 5 years. I just did some research on this. So the numbers say there's likely going to be a rookie back going to be top 5 in running back scoring. So Edwards-Helaire, you think he can do it?
I think he can totally do it. He's a great halfback. And if Damon Williams held out this year, he's not playing. He opted out. So he's going to get the work. He's going to get the time. I think if he can show the team that he can play well, he's going to be the starting halfback.
I totally agree. So last pick in the first round, the DJ, he takes Joe Mixon. And then with his next pick on the way back, he takes Kenyon Drake. I want to show you this board here now. To show you the first round, it goes McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara, Hill, Thomas, Cook, Henry, Sanders, Eckler, Edwards-Helaire, Mixon. Not a lot of surprises there, though, right?
Oh,
I guess the only thing is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Yep, a little bit of surprise to see him go 5th overall. But again, if you like a player, go for him. So with the first pick in the second round, DJ took Kenyon Drake. And then Aaron Jones goes with the second pick. Then we have DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Jacobs. These guys are flying right now.
Yeah.
This is a really fast draft, hard to keep up. Not a lot of surprises, though. I mean, Aaron Jones, what do you think about him? He's another guy that's a little bit scary for some people.
I think he's a little shaky this year, but who does Rodgers have to throw to this year? I feel like they're going to pound the rock on the run with Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones will still have a great year this year.
Yeah, he has big touchdown potential. I'm a little worried about his carries. He didn't get a ton for being an elite back last year. His touchdowns really boosted his overall numbers. So, again, kind of a little bit of a a pick that's, people have some debate over. So Kelsey goes after Josh Jacobs. So that's the 5th pick in the 2nd round. Jeremy Brock, took Derrick Henry, takes Travis Kelsey. So we have Chiefs flying off the board all over the place, right, Henry? You happy about that? He's sporting his Chiefs Mahomes jersey there. So he's a big Chiefs fan. Kelsey, though.
Got the huge extension today. Also.
He did. He got a big extension. Obviously, the top fantasy tight end in the game. And he can be a difference maker because he posts numbers like, a top 3 fantasy receiver, and he plays tight end. So if you like that tight end position and you want to, sew it up and get the top player, you got to go early on Kelsey. And now Nancy Page follows that Kelsey pick with George Kittle. A little bit of a surprise to see Kittle go right after Kelsey. He usually goes maybe a little later in that 2nd round. But again, tight end position.
Yeah.
These top guys, you got to act quick this year. Yeah. These guys are going in the 2nd round. Now we see another receiver go off the board. Ray Cowart, he takes Adams. Now look at his roster, though, Henry. Right now he has Thomas and Adams. So he has 2 receivers. He's kind of going maybe 0 running back theory. You worry about that at all?
I am worried about that. Running backs you need the good running backs in fantasy.
Especially this year. They're going really quick. So it's a little scary going that route for Ray, but that's his strategy, it looks like. He wants to get those elite receivers. Probably couldn't pass up Adams. A lot of people think Adams is the 2nd-rated receiver, and he goes 4th off the board. So I guess maybe Ray couldn't pass up on that value, so he took him. Next pick after him was Nick Chubb to Chris Howitt. So Chris has Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb, not a bad duo. Chubb falls a little bit. He goes after Jacobs, Jones, Drake. I think a few people are worried about him because of Kareem Hunt being around this year. Is that worry you a little bit or at all? No?
Not much. Chubb's just an all-around good athlete. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. I feel like Hunt's going to compete with him a little bit, but I think Chubb's the better back. I really think he's going to get more work still.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be a solid player, good low-end number 1 back. So I think that's a good pick in this spot. He seems to be falling a little bit more lately in drafts as well, which is a little surprising. After Chubb goes Julio Jones to Ralph Schiavone. So he has Alvin Kamara, Julio Jones. Then Chris Godwin goes with the next pick. So Morrow has Zeke and Godwin. Pretty good combo there. Judd West, he took another running back to pair with Barkley. So he has Barkley Gurley. And then Jared, he goes Christian McCaffrey, Kenny Golladay. And then he takes Patrick Mahomes, first QB off the board. I want to show you the board right now as it stands so everybody can see it. You can see all the picks on there. So as you can see, 2nd round goes Drake, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Jacobs, Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, Devontae Adams, Nick Chubb, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Todd Gurley, Kenny Golladay. And then Patrick Mahomes is the first pick in the 3rd round. So Jared, he's trying to, get those top players at several positions. He's got the number 1 QB most have in Mahomes, number 1 running back now McCaffrey. You like that combo?
I like that combo right there.
So Judd follows that up. He takes a QB 2, goes Lamar Jackson. So he has Saquon, Gurley, and Lamar Jackson. Pretty good formidable trio right there as well. How do you feel about taking a QB this early, though? Can you do it?
If it's Mahomes, I would do it. I'm really scared about Jackson this year. I just have a feeling I really think he's going to get hurt this year.
Oh, no.
I think he's going to tear his ACL.
Tear his ACL. The Madden curse. Is that what it is? Madden curse?
I just don't
I think he's going to get hurt because he runs so much, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little concerning, taking that punishment at the QB position. So Judd, he has two, as you can see, the timer is getting ready to go off. That's why you hear that beeping. He has 2 running backs and a QB. He does not have a receiver on his roster yet, though. So after him, Morrow, he took Leonard Fournette. So he has Zeke, Godwin, Fournette. Decent trio of players right there. Ralph just took Chris Carson. He's got Kamara, Carson, Julio Jones. It's a pretty good trio there as well. So, a lot of these guys after the 2nd round, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 players with 2 backs, and now we have 3 more with 2 backs because James Conner just went. So a lot of these owners are trying to have 2 backs on their roster after 3 rounds, which isn't a surprise. James Conner goes here to Chris Howitt. He's got Conner, Chubb, and Hill. Connor, thoughts on him this year at all? You think he can rebound?
I really think he can have a rebound season. I really like him in that Steelers offense. He does have to compete with Julio Jones, not Julio, Juju in the passing game, but still, I really think Connor can have a great year.
Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy. He was a little banged up last year. I think having Big Ben back will help too. So Connor, good rebound candidate. He went really high last year, so he's fallen this year, maybe because of all the things we just mentioned. So could be a good rebound candidate though, and provide good value for fantasy teams. So now we have Ray Cowart on the board. He has 2 receivers on his roster. Needs to get a running back, most likely. Let's see what he's going to do here. It's getting a little slim pickings for him a little bit at this point. See who's available. He went with David Johnson. So David Johnson kind of falls a little bit here.
Yeah.
You see him going a little higher in most drafts. A little surprising to see him go this late. So pretty good value for Ray here. Probably feeling pretty happy about being able to get him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
You like Johnson in this Texans offense this year? Think he has some potential?
He has some potential with now that no DeAndre Hopkins is their best player personally.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're really going to pound the rock with David Johnson. They have a pretty good offensive line too, I feel like. So.
Yeah, Johnson could be pretty good. I just worry about his explosiveness. Is he the same player as past years? Can he still get it done? I don't know. That's a question that we'll see answered this year. So Le'Veon Bell goes next to Nancy Page. This owner now has Dalvin Cook, George Kittle, Le'Veon Bell, no receiver on their roster. And then we have Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, Melvin Gordon. Jeremy just took Melvin Gordon. That's his 2nd running back, so he has Henry and Gordon as his running backs. Melvin Gordon to Denver this year. Any thoughts there? You think he could be all right?
I think he'd be all right there. They have a pretty good offensive line, but he is going to have to compete. I think he's going to get the starting job, but if he starts to underperform like I think he might do, Phillip Lindsay's going to take that role right back, and so.
Yeah, I wouldn't discount Lindsay either. He has 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking him this year. So it's kind of interesting to see how Gordon performs. I don't think he's going to be the same player as he has in past years with the Chargers, whatever you want to call them, San Diego, when he was there, or Los Angeles, which they are now. Next pick, Andrew Cummings. He goes with Cooper Kupp. So he has Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Cooper Kupp on his roster. So let's look now, Henry. I think every team has 2 running backs except for Ray Cowart, who has just 1, and Jared Eric. He has just 1 as well. He had the 1st pick. Jim Robertson actually doesn't either. So 3 teams don't have 2 running backs after 3 rounds of the draft. So the next pick right here was DJ Moore. He goes to Jim Robertson. He has Eckler, Hopkins, DJ Moore. I like Moore a lot this year, personally.
Yes.
I think he's a little bit undervalued. I don't quite get the disdain for him. A lot of so-called experts aren't big on Moore this year. They don't like Teddy Bridgewater, his QB. Who's his QB last year?
It was Cannon for a little bit, and then it was Kyle Allen.
Exactly, Kyle Allen. So is Teddy Bridgewater going to be worse than Kyle Allen?
No.
Exactly. So, I don't quite get the disdain for Moore. Little surprising to me, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. Mine is I think Moore is going to be a good value pick. Next pick, second to last pick in this 3rd round, Adam Thielen. Another guy, disappointing season, but Stephon Diggs is gone. I think a lot of people are high on Thielen, have a nice rebound year. What about you?
I feel like there's a lot of potential for a nice rebound season. He doesn't have to compete with Diggs anymore. He was have to compete with Justin Jefferson, who I think is going to have a great year. I really like him at the rookie position. He's a rookie receiver. I think he's a great athletic player. I think he has a lot of potential.
So DJ has the last pick in this 3rd round, and he's going running back heavy. He went Jonathan Taylor, another rookie back off the board. Jonathan Taylor with Indianapolis. Rookie player. Some thought he was a top-rated back in the draft. He was not the first running back pick, but a lot of people thought he was the best rookie running back. Marlon Mack there had a 1,000-yard season last year. Great offensive line, though. A lot of potential for Taylor. So he goes 3 backs. Then he takes Calvin Ridley with his 1st pick in the 4th round. That's his 1st receiver. Ridley, again, another player some people are targeting for breakout. You think there's potential there for
I think there's a lot of potential there, but he doesn't have to compete with Julio Jones, who's one of the top receivers in the league, if yet the top. He's going to have to compete with him, but I think really does have a potential for a breakout season.
And Austin Hooper's not there anymore. He was kind of that target over the middle, so maybe Ridley takes some of those targets.
Mhm.
And with the second pick in the 4th round, Mark Andrews. So we have our 3rd tight end off the board. Mark Andrews goes. That gives this owner Edwards-Helaire, Aaron Jones, Adam Thielen, Mark Andrews. So pretty good core of his team. Just one receiver right now, but pretty good start to his team for this owner here, Tom Delbridge. So he has a pretty good roster. Now, Jim Robertson, he went another receiver. So now he has 3. He has Cortland Sutton as his 3rd receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Austin Eckler. Another receiver flying off the board here, Allen Robinson. Andrew Cummings gets him. He has Sanders, Jacobs, Kupp, Robinson. Now, I think this is fairly good value for Robinson here at this point. I'm not huge on Robinson this year. I don't think he can – I think he kind of reached his ceiling last year personally, but he can come close to that, and get him at this spot's pretty good.
Yeah.
He gets him at the wide receiver. Let's see here. 14th receiver off the board, I think. So that's pretty good value for Andrew at this point of the draft. I think he's got to be feeling pretty good about his roster of Sanders, Jacobs, Kupp, and Robinson. A lot of it might hinge on Sanders. Can he have that breakout year? I think that's a lot of it going to depend for him. Next pick, Jeremy Brock. He goes with Devin Singletary. This gives him 3 running backs as well. So now we have 2 players with 3 running backs. He has Derrick Henry, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary. Raheem Mostert goes next. Another owner now has 3 backs, Mostert, Bell, Cook. Mostert, what do you think?
Did he get his deal yet? I don't know about that. Did he?
He stopped his holdout. They did renegotiate his contract. So he is in camp and he is practicing with the team. So he looks like the number 1 back, but I'm not discounting Tevin Coleman and even Jerick McKinnon. There's been some good talk about him in camp so far. So they're going to rotate backs in San Francisco. So he's a little bit of a concerning pick for me. But at this point, with so many running backs off the board, you can take a chance on somebody like him, especially as your 3rd back. But that owner, Nancy Page, does not have a receiver on the roster yet, which is kind of surprising. It's a deep position this year, but I could end up burning this team in the end. We'll see how. I have a feeling they're going to go really receiver heavy with their next few picks. All right, we've talked a little bit. 4 more players have gone off the board. Mike Evans goes to Ray Cowart. Chris Howat goes Juju Smith-Schuster. David Montgomery goes to Ralph Sheevan. Mauro Dandria takes Odell Beckham Jr. Amari Cooper goes to Judd West. And now Jared Eric is up with the last pick in the 4th round. I want to show you the screen again so you can see everybody's picks. At this point of the draft, we're moving really quick for a fantasy championship draft, but these owners know what they're wanting here, and they're moving quick, Henry.
Yeah.
So here's the screen. You guys can see it all on here now. So 1 more pick for Jared Eric. I have a feeling he might go running back here. He just has 1 right now. Christian McCaffrey is obviously a very good pick, but he has McCaffrey, Galladay, Mahomes. So it's good. He goes receiver and then running back. So he had back-to-back picks. He went A.J. Brown, Cam Akers. A.J. Brown, love him this year. I love him. I think he's going to have a huge year. What about you?
I can see him having a great year. Ryan Tannehill, if he can play like he did at the end of last year, I think A.J. Brown's going to have a breakout year.
Yeah, he had I think it was 51, 52 catches last year. So he catches just 20 more balls. I believe he was 22nd in fantasy scoring last year at receiver. So he catches 20 more passes with last year's numbers. He's like a top 10 receiver. So, I think this is a great spot to get Brown. If you're Jared Eric, I'd feel really good about this pick. And then he goes Cam Akers, another rookie running back off the board. Personally, I like Akers a little more than Taylor because Taylor's not competing with a 1,000-yard rusher for playing time. I think Akers has a better shot to get more touches overall. So I like him a little more in that Rams offense. It was run heavy last year at the end of the year. So I like his potential this year. I think he could be pretty good. So Robert Woods is the next pick. Judd West took him. He has 2 receivers now, and Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, to go with Lamar Jackson, Todd Gurley, Saquon Barkley. That's a pretty good-looking team right now.
Yeah.
So after him, we have Kareem Hunt, the other back in that Cleveland backfield. It's the 3rd running back for Mauro Dandria. He has Zeke, Fournette, and Hunt on his team. So he has 3 running backs, 2 receivers. kind of how I approach things in drafts. Personally, after 5 rounds, I like to have 3 backs, 2 receivers, or two running backs and 3 receivers, depending on where my first running back's picked and who I have on my roster. But that's the way I kind of stack my team in drafts so far this year. We have some more players flying off the board here. DJ Shark goes to Ralph Shiavon. That's his second receiver. He has Julio Jones, DJ Shark to go with Kamara, Carson, Montgomery. It's a pretty solid team. Chris Howat, he goes DeAndre Swift, another rookie. A lot of rookie backs this year. A lot of them have some guys to compete with for touches, but if they get the work, they could be pretty good.
Yeah. We like Swift this year with Detroit. Kerryon Johnson, I feel like he's going to outperform Kerryon Johnson. He's going to get the carries. I feel like he's going to have a great year.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift definitely has some question marks. I mean, Kerryon Johnson definitely has some question marks. I'm not so sure about him this year. Just hasn't been able to stay healthy. I kind of was high on him last year, and he kind of burnt me. I took him, kind of in this area last year and didn't do very well. So Swift's the guy now, and I think he is going to be the starter from day one and do well in that offense. So now we're up to Ray Cowart. He has Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, David Johnson, Mike Evans, and he goes tight end with his 5th pick, or I should say 6th pick in the 5th round. He goes Zach Ertz. Ertz is the 4th tight end off the board after 5 rounds. Now, at this point, you would not expect to see any more tight ends for a couple more rounds. Now, for you personally, do you want one of these top 4 tight ends on your roster? Are you going to try to get one?
If I were to get one, I would want Kittle or Kelsey. I don't want Andrews and Ertz. I do like them, but if I'm going to go early on a tight end, it's going to be Kittle or Kelsey.
So you just pass on Kittle and Ertz and Andrews for their price tag, which is around the 4th, 5th, 6th round. You don't like them for that value. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with the tight end position. I might get Kittle or Kelsey, in 1 or 2 drafts, but for the most part, I'm just waiting and stacking 2 tight ends. I feel like the position's a little deeper this year, and I think some of these guys you can get 10, 11, like Noah Fant, even Eric Ebron. I think they can be good platoon players, and you can mix and match those guys and get good value for them. So Nancy Page goes DK Metcalf. That was the first receiver for this team. They have Dalvin Cook, George Kittle, Le'Veon Bell, Raheem Mostert, and DK Metcalf. Now, I love Metcalf this year. How about you?
I think he's going to have a great year. He's going to outperform Lockett. He's going to be the number 1 receiver in Seattle. He has a great QB that can throw to him. I think he's going to have a great year.
I do too. I'm expecting big things, just like A.J. Brown. I like both those guys. I like Brown a little more, but I think Metcalf can get close to him. So it's good first receiver for this team. Winter is coming, but, it's a little concerning not having that elite guy on your team, but hopefully Metcalf, I think they're trying to hope that this Metcalf emerges and becomes that. After that goes Mark Ingram. So that's a 4th running back for Jeremy Brock. He has no receiver either. He has 4 running backs, though. Derrick Henry, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram. After that pick, Andrew Cummings took Keenan Allen. So that owner went 3 straight receivers, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen. And I talked about tight ends, how they might not go again for a little bit. We actually see one go here in this 5th round. Darren Waller goes to Jim Robertson, and he did not have a number 2 back yet. He went Darren Waller in the 5th round.
It's a risky pick there. I like Waller a little bit, but I don't think he's going to have a season like he did last year.
I agree. His targets were off the charts last year. They had horrible receiver play, though, and they revamped that receiver core this year. So I think Waller's numbers are going to dip a little bit. I think Jim might have went a little early on Waller here. I might have looked at running back, but again, if you have a player you like and you want him, you got to go grab him when you can, and I think that's what Jim did here. And after him goes James White. Terry McLaurin is the last pick in this round. I want to show you what the board looks like after 5 rounds. We are not going to be broadcasting this entire draft at this point because that could take 2 hours, and I'm sure you guys don't want to hear us talk for 2 straight hours about this draft. But we're going to give you about half of it so you can get a good feel about what these owners were picking. Then after the draft, we're going to interview some of these owners. I should have said that earlier. But some of these owners we're going to be able to talk to and get their thoughts on it. So that'll be pretty fun. You can see the board now 5 rounds into it. The last pick, DJ, took Terry McLaurin in this 5th round. Then he went Marquis Brown. Then Tyler Lockett went Ronald Jones, T.Y. Hilton. Marquis Brown. I like him a lot this year.
I do think he's potential for a great season. He does have to compete with Mark Andrews, who's a great tight end. But, yeah, he has the potential for a huge season.
He looked ripped. You see the Twitter picture of him that was out there?
Not yet.
You haven't seen it? No, he's apparently was working out hard in the offseason. Looks like he's ready to go. I think he's going to have a big year, breakout year. I'm just worried about his reception totals a little bit. I think he'll get chances to run the ball some. And I think he'll have a good year, making some big plays in the passing game. Might disappear some weeks, but, he got him as his third receiver, so I feel pretty good about that. Ridley, McLaurin, and Brown. T.Y. Hilton, I said, went with the last pick, and then the pick after that was Dak Prescott is the third QB off the board. So we had two QBs going to the third round, and then we didn't go again until the sixth round. Dak Prescott goes. You take Prescott or Kyler Murray?
I'll take Kyler Murray here. I love Kyler Murray this year. He has Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald to throw to, and Christian Kirk, a great receiving corps that can make those circus catches. They can make crazy catches, all of them.
Yeah, I think it's a close call with the two. I do personally like Murray a little better, but it's a close call. I think Prescott is probably going to be a good fit for that new offense with Mike McCarthy there in Dallas. So that bodes well for him. So I can see why Jeremy took him here. He still does not have a receiver, though. See that? So he has Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram, Dak Prescott. No receiver. Little surprising. So the next player taken was a receiver. Stephon Diggs goes to Nancy Page. That is the second straight receiver for this owner. They have Metcalf and Diggs as their only receivers right now. Then Antonio Gibson goes. So a lot of people think he probably will, be the feature back at some point in Washington, but Adrian Peterson's still there. Antonio Gibson, sixth round. Can you do that?
No, I would wait on him for a while.
I mean, he's one of these gadget-type players, can catch the ball well, played receiver in college mostly. I think he will be a good player, but, man, I just don't know if I can use a sixth-round pick on him. That scares me. And that's only Ray's second running back. So he has David Johnson and Antonio Gibson as his two starting backs right now. It's a little scary. Obviously, he's going to need Gibson to come through, have a big year if he hopes to advance in this championship. But sometimes you got to go against the norm if you want to, advance in these things. So I think that's what Ray's thinking here. He wants Gibson, get that guy who's going to be huge and have that breakout year and surprise people. That's what he's going to need to happen. After him goes A.J. Green, the oft-injured A.J. Green. So Chris Howitt now has Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster, A.J. Green. I like that trio.
That's a great trio.
Yeah, he took Hill with his first receiver pick. I think I would have liked it better if he would have had
Michael Thomas.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, Smith-Schuster, and A.J. Green. I feel pretty good about that, but still not bad. He has Nick Chubb, James Conner, DeAndre Swift as his running back, so looking pretty good there. Ralph had the next pick in this sixth round, took Jarvis Landry, steady Landry.
Yeah.
Not too exciting, but he gets his catches.
Yeah, they make the catches. I think he'll have a pretty good year, but he has to be back on one of the best receivers in the league for targets. And then who did they get? They got
Austin Hooper.
Yeah, Austin Hooper. He's gonna and don't they still have Njoku or no?
They do. He is. Yeah. He threatened to leave, but wanted a trade, but he's back. So they do have a lot of mouths to feed there. Yeah. But Landry's pretty steady. Got him as a number 3 receiver. So he has Julio Jones, DJ Shark, Landry. And so we have another tight end off the board in the sixth round, Hunter Henry. Yeah. He goes to Morrow, Dandria. And this owner now has Hunter Henry, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, Ezekiel Elliott. And then Judd West went Michael Gallup. So he went 3 straight receivers after taking 2 running backs and a quarterback to start. So he has Barkley, Gurley, Lamar Jackson, Cooper, Woods, Gallup. And with the last pick in the sixth round, Jared Eric goes Tyler Boyd. So I'm going to go ahead and click off the screen for you guys so you can see our mugs on here, and we can talk to you a little bit about the draft so far. Any team stand out to you right now, Henry, that you think had the best start?
I really like Tyreek Hill.
Chris Howitt's team?
Yes, I really like that team. Chubb and Connor. If Connor can perform, and Chubb, you already know, he's a great halfback, and Swift, he starts and has a great year, that's a great team right there. And there's still a lot of great quarterbacks out there because you don't get one. You usually take one later. So
yeah,
He can get a good QB. That's a great team right there.
Personally, I like Jared Erick's team. He had the first pick. He had McCaffrey, and then he has Galladay, Mahomes. I love A.J. Brown. Cam Akers, I think, is a good number 2 back, especially in the 5th round. Then he has Tyler Boyd, and he just took J.K. Dobbins, first pick in the 7th round. I think that's a decent pick, too. I do worry about that running back depth a little bit. Akers is no sure thing, but, man, I like his foundation. He really has a great start to his team. You know, it kind of shows having that number 1 pick and have his advantages. We saw that. I do a story every year where I look at everybody finishes with what pick they had. And last year it was the 2nd and 3rd pick that had the most success. That's because that's where Christian McCaffrey went. Yeah. Who had the huge year. But for the most part, every year it's pretty even across the board, to be honest with you. It doesn't really matter where you're picking. It may look like at the end of the draft that, you know, oh man, the first pick had the biggest advantage, but it doesn't usually play out that way. Last year it was just McCaffrey. If you had McCaffrey, you likely won your league. So that's how it worked out last year. For the most part, you got a good chance to win wherever you pick. All right, J.K. Dobbins went, like I said, first pick 7th round. Then we had Marlon Mack, the backup, most likely backup to Jonathan Taylor, but he could get more work than your normal backup coming off a 1,000-yard year. Then Morrow went Julian Edelman. So he's got Godwin, Beckham, Edelman. That's a pretty good trio. Receivers. Yep. And now Ralph's up. He goes QB. We talked about this guy last round, Kyler Murray. So he goes with the 4th pick in the 7th round. Ralph gets Kyler Murray to go with Kamara, Carson, Montgomery, Shark, and Landry. Pretty solid team there. Yeah.
Personally, when I start my draft, I want Murray. I think he can be a great QB. I think he can be a great starter. I would really like him as my QB.
Where do you think you're going to have to take him? In your league, QBs go a little higher with all your friends, but where do you think you're going to have to grab him if you go tight end?
Well, I know a lot of my friends really want Murray, but they're probably going to take him in the 5th round usually, so I don't think I'm going to get him, but I would hope to get him in the 7th or 8th round.
That's where you'd like to get him?
Yeah.
All right, next pick. And a little bit of surprise here. Rob Gronkowski, he is the – is that 7th tight end off the board, Henry?
Yeah.
Yep. So he goes 7th TD and the 7th tight end, I should say, TE, in the 7th round. So Gronk goes to Chris Howitt. That's his starting tight end. To go with Nick Chubb, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster, A.J. Green. So he gets a starting tight end. Gronk. How do you feel about Gronk this year?
I do not like Gronk this year.
Don't like Gronk.
He has to compete with O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. And he just came out of retirement. And so
always has injury concerns too.
Yeah.
So Ray Cowart, next pick, takes Devontae Parker. And then Deontay Johnson goes. Devontae Parker really falls in this draft. Personally, I think he's providing good value because everybody on their team is opting out at receiver.
Yeah.
They're going to sit out this year. And so Parker's kind of the last man standing. He had a breakout year last year when Ryan Fitzpatrick was in there. He should start most of the year. I think this is great value. Get him as his 4th receiver. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Look at that receiving core he has. Thomas, Adams, Evans, and Parker.
Oof,
those are the top 4 receivers in this draft, in my opinion. You got to worry about his running back spot, though. Like I said, though, he's David Johnson's number 1, then Antonio Gibson is his number 2. So he's going to have to live through that receiver position and hope it produces huge weekly numbers and make up maybe a little bit for his running back spot. So after Parker goes Deontay Johnson, then we have Will Fuller in the 7th round, and then Deshaun Watson, the 5th QB off the board. Deshaun, another one of your favorite players. You like him to have a good year even with D-Hop gone?
I like him a lot, but Hopkins, it's going to hurt him. But they did get Brandon Cook, so I do think will perform and help Watson get some points, get some touchdowns. I think Watson will have a great year, just not as good as last year.
We have another QB go off the board now, Russell Wilson. So going a little quicker in this draft. We're through 7 rounds, almost through 7 rounds, and we have 6 QBs off the board. Wilson goes after Watson. I think those two are kind of interchangeable. Yeah. Some people would rather have Wilson. Some people would rather have Watson, but I think that's pretty standard there that either of them can go in that spot. So that's what Jim Robertson does. He takes Wilson to go with Eckler, Ronald Jones. I don't think I talked about that pick. Ronald Jones, he went with him in the 6th round as his number 2 back. So he has the rookie there to compete with Vaughn in Tampa, but Ronald Jones is apparently the man, so he's going to need him to come through as his number 2 back. A little scary. All right, Hayden Hearst goes with the 11th pick in the 7th round, and then with the last pick, Evan Ingram. So tight end position, a little surprising to see it going so fast.
Yeah.
I want to show everybody the board here and show you where we are. Take a look at that, and you can see the draft. So we had 3 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks go in the 7th round. A little bit of surprise, a little bit of mixing it up a little bit. These guys are trying to get their core starter set, it looks like. And we have another Houston receiver off the board, Brandon Cooks. We had Will Fuller go the previous round. I do like Fuller. I just hope he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy, I think he'd have a great year. But if he can't stay healthy, Cooks is going to get a ton of targets. So
doesn't do you any good when you're on the sideline.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. So I do like Fuller, though. I think it's good to take a chance on him at that point. That was actually Jeremy Brock's first receiver. We did not mention that. So Will Fuller is his number 1 receiver. He has a lot of great backs. He has Dak Prescott, and he has a number 1 tight end in Travis Kelce. But that receiver position, you only start 2 in this league. So, hopefully he's just hoping. I'm guessing he's going to really load up on receiver and, play the matchup game. So I think that's what he's going to do and use those running backs in that flex spot for his team and hope he can, get by with the receivers, match them up. We'll see if it works out for him. That obviously is a strategy. Hopefully we can talk to him after this draft and see what he has to say about what he was trying to do in this draft. All right, Josh Allen goes with the 2nd pick in the 8th round. He is the 7th QB off the board. Josh Allen, pretty steady because of his ability to run the ball. He gets some pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
And now he has Stephon Diggs to go with John Brown.
It's a great receiving core there. Allen can run the ball, like you said, and he has targets that can catch the ball. They can make the circus catches. He's a great receiving core to help him out.
Yeah, it should help him out this year. He was a little shaky in that playoff game. Like to see him play a little better in those big games. That's a concern for me. So after Josh Allen goes Jordan Howard to Jim Robertson. Now, I like this pick in the 8th round. I think that's good value. I'd rather have Howard than Ronald Jones, who we got 2 rounds earlier. So Howard, again, he has Matt Breida to compete with for carries, but I'm just not sure Matt Breida's suited for that role. I think Jordan Howard is. He's a former 1,000-yard rusher. He's done well in the past. So I think this is a good pick for Jim. I think he made up a little bit for waiting on that running back spot. So I think he did well there. Tyler Higbee goes to Andrew Cummings with the next pick. And then Marvin Jones goes to Jeremy Brock, who now has 2 receivers, Will Fuller, Marvin Jones.
I did not – if Fuller stays healthy, that's a great number 1 receiver to have. I like that. But it's kind of shaky if he's not healthy there.
Yeah, it's a risky pick. But, again, I have a feeling he's really going to load up on receiver with these next few picks. Not a surprise, especially since he has an elite tight end too, so he can wait on that position and get his number 2 really late as well. So I think that's what's going to happen. Not a surprise to see that going forward. Sony Michel goes to Nancy Page. This is the 4th running back for this team. They have Cook, Bell, Mostert, Sony Michel. I know there's some injury concerns about him now. Not sure what's happening with him, if he's going to be ready. Patriots don't really release a lot of information about health. Not a surprise. They have Cam Newton now, though. Cam Newton, how do you feel about Cam?
He can stay healthy. I think it's a great fit for an offense for him. He has Julian Edelman. He has N'Keal Harry, who I think has a lot of talent and can play well. He has a good offense he can play with there.
Yeah, I think he could be a good fit. Now, Matt Breida just talked about him, so he goes 4 picks after Jordan Howard. I'd much rather have Howard. But, again, you can see the value of the running backs just flying off the board. Now, Latavius Murray goes as well. He's a good depth player, though, for me. This Chris Howitt got him as his 4th back. So I think that's good. He's going to get the work. Saints like to run the ball. And Kamara battled some injury issues last year as well, which opened the door for Murray to get a little more playing time. So that was a positive. So I like Murray as a depth play here. Ralph Sheavon's up now. He has a pretty good core to his team. Doesn't have a tight end yet. 3 of the last 4 owners in this draft, 3 of the next 4 to pick, I should say, don't have tight ends yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they wait since kind of the elite guys are gone. Looks like they might, because Ralph just took Darius Slayton as his 4th receiver. Darius Slayton could be the top receiver for that Giants team, who I kind of like Daniel Jones this year. I think he could have a big year.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I know a lot of people have are naysayers of Jason Garrett, and rightfully good reasons to be, but
Yeah.
He's a pretty good play caller, and I think he'll be a positive for that offense overall. He doesn't have to worry about managing timeouts and all that other clock management stuff that he's not very good at, and personnel decisions. Now he just has to call plays. So I think that's good for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Phillip Lindsay, next pick after Darius Slayton. Morrow gets him. That's his fourth running back. Again, like the Murray pick, I like Lindsay as a fourth back. Pretty good-looking backfield for this team, having Elliott, Fournette, Hunt, and Lindsay. And now we talked about tight end might go because some of these owners didn't have him. Judd West addressed his tight end position. He took Austin Cooper with the second to last pick in the eighth round. And then Tariq Cohen went, and then Mike Gesicki. So another tight end off the board. So all but one team has their tight end after one pick into the ninth round. So tight end's going a little quicker in this draft.
Yeah.
Owners aren't waiting around. Jared gets his with Mike Gesicki. I like that team a lot. I would definitely try to get another tight end maybe with his next pick on the way back. Maybe get a Noah Fant, pair with those guys. So I think that's a pretty good start to his team. And Zach Moss goes with the next pick to Judd West. Then Tom Brady goes. He goes 8th overall QB.
Yeah.
So he's top 10 QB. You think he can do that?
Well, I think he can perform because he has a lot more talent at receiver. A lot of talented receivers, weapons he has in that offense. I really think he can perform, but as much as I hate Brady, though, it's hard.
Henry is not a Brady fan. I do, too. He has a ton of talent on that team. And also the offense is very QB-friendly. We saw what Winston was able to do in it last year despite all his turnovers. So I think it's a good situation for Brady. He could really post good numbers. I think he could be a top 10 QB, but I definitely, with the position being so deep, I feel better about taking a chance on somebody like Brady as my number one personally, because you can get somebody, again, I might go back-to-back QBs here if I was Morrow. I might get one on the way back. That way I have two good options I can platoon with. Get somebody like Daniel Jones or Matt Stafford this year. So I would maybe look at doing that if I was him to pair with Brady since he's older and, you got to worry about his health a little bit in that situation in Tampa. All right, after Brady goes Kerryon Johnson and then Tony Pollard. Awful early for Pollard to go, but Chris Howitt, kind of messes up the Ezekiel Elliott owner, who was Morrow, had him with third pick in the draft. He was picked third, but he doesn't get the handcuff to Elliott. Chris Howitt gets him, Pollard. So that's his fifth back already.
Wow.
He has Chubb, Connor, Swift, Murray, and Pollard. So he's going heavy running back. A lot of running backs. So Deebo Samuel goes next to Ray Cowart. Now, Samuel was one of my favorites before he got hurt.
Yeah.
He had that Jones fracture of his foot and a little bit of a concern, might not be ready for the start of the year. But at this point of the draft, got him as his fifth receiver, rated. Again, I love his receiver core. Is amazing. Maybe you can use this as, some trade bait or something.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think there's any trading allowed in the fantasy championship. I take that back. No trading. So you can't use it as trade bait. But again, Super Bowl, when you get later in the season and all these guys are healthy, wow, it's going to be scary. This guy's receiver core. He just needs some of these running backs. I would really think he would get running backs with his next couple picks. Hopefully, I'm guessing he has somebody in mind that he wants to pick later in the draft. So we'll see. But his receiver core is scary. He doesn't have a QB yet, though. He has Thomas Adams, David Johnson, Mike Evans, Zach Ertz, Antonio Gibson, Devontae Parker, Matt Breida, Deebo Samuel. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes somebody like Adrian Peterson, too, just so he has that running back situation sewn up in Washington. Next pick, Matt Ryan, another QB off the board. I believe that's the 9th QB, correct?
Yes.
Justin Jefferson, you were just talking about him.
Really like him this year.
Really like him.
Yeah.
Jeremy Brock, he took 3 straight receivers like we expected. He went really running back heavy early and had that tight end with Kelsey in the second pick. So now he's loading up at receiver. He's going to need 2 of these guys to hit each week. And he took Justin Jefferson. I like that pick. Keyshawn Vaughn goes next, the rookie in Tampa, and then Emmanuel Sanders. Again, I like Sanders.
I like Sanders, too. He's with New Orleans. He's probably going to be the number 2 receiver there. He does have to compete with Michael Thomas, who is, in my opinion, the best receiver in the NFL right now. but he's going to get the targets.
Yep.
And he can make the plays. It's really going to help his value in fantasy.
Totally agree. So Emmanuel Sanders goes and Tevin Coleman and then Drew Brees. So Drew Brees is the 10th QB off the board. All but 2 teams have a QB right now. I want to show you the board because we're through 9 rounds. We are actually going to just do play-by-play for 10 rounds of the draft. And then after that's over with, I will show you the entire draft board when it's over, when we get done talking, Henry and I. After 10 rounds, we'll wrap it up, but I'll show you the draft board. And then we're going to do some interviews with these players to get their thoughts on it. I think it'll be great to get their insight. So that's how we're going to roll with it. And you can definitely see this draft board, though, after the draft. I will definitely broadcast it. I will not broadcast it, but I will put it up for everybody to see before we get to those interviews.
Yeah.
So there's a draft board right now. Drew Brees goes at this point at the draft 10. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Drew Brees this year. He's another guy that kind of scares me a little bit, but I'm okay with using him as a platoon player. I just need to get another good QB with him. So, again, I would like to have Matthew Stafford, Drew Brees as a combo, something like that. This owner went with Eric Ebron as his second tight end. So he's already taken 2 tight ends. A little surprising to see him go tight end again so early. There is still one owner without one. Ralph Schiavone does not have a tight end yet. And DJ has 2 now with Eric Ebron. John Brown goes next. Then Duke Johnson. He is the last, the next player selected, I should say, Duke Johnson in Houston. I think that's a good pick this late, personally, because Duke Johnson is in a situation with David Johnson, who's had a little trouble staying healthy lately.
Yeah.
All right, Daryl Henderson goes next, Henry. That's the 4th running back for Andrew's team. He has Daryl Henderson, Keyshawn Vaughn, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders. Not great depth at that position for him. He kind of really loaded up on a receiver after he took Sanders and Jacobs. Hopefully he's hoping one of those running backs comes through for him. Now we have Jeremy Brock on the clock. Let's see if he goes another receiver. He has 3 straight. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again. Really wouldn't.
I really think he's going to go another receiver here.
Let's see what he does. Let's see who's left on the board. Let's see who's actually, if I do that, I'm going to do that right now. Let's see who's left for these guys to pick.
Adrian Peterson.
He took Adrian Peterson. You still had Christian Kirk out there, Robbie Anderson, CeeDee Lamb, Curtis Samuel, Jerry Jeudy. So there was some options out there. He went with Adrian Peterson, though, got another running back. So he has 5 running backs now. They're pretty solid. Maybe the starter in Washington. Next pick for Nancy Page was Alexander Madison. So it's a good pick for Dalvin Cook owner. That was a great handcuff. So probably really happy to get that. The Ezekiel Elliott owner was unable to get Pollard. I mean, I'm kind of torn on handcuffs.
Yeah.
Do you like getting them? Do you care?
I don't really care that much about that, really, but
I mean, I think some players, if you think they can go into this situation and produce as well as a starter, then it's fine taking them. But for the most part, it's hard for me to, waste a decent pick to get a handcuff, especially if they're just a marginal player. But somebody like Madison, I'm okay with because he's talented and can produce when he's on the field. Yeah. All right, DeAndre Washington goes next to Ray Cowart. He gets another Kansas City back here, I guess. Yeah. Looking for maybe, the number 2 back. It's kind of uncertain in Kansas City right now. Could be Washington. So that's another pick for this team. That's just their 4th running back, though. So that's scary. Yeah. DeAndre Washington and Matt Breida to go with Antonio Gibson and David Johnson. All right, McCole Hardman, another Chief. Then Christian Kirk. McCole Hardman, kind of an exciting player, huh?
Yeah, I like him. He's got great speed. As you saw, him and Hill raced the other day, but he lost. No surprises. Hill. I really like him, though. He's a very exciting player. He's probably the number 2 receiver in Kansas City. He's going to get the looks, but he has to compete with the best tight end in the league and one of the best receivers in the league.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins really went kind of downhill at times later in the season. He did play well in the playoffs, but it did look like Hardman was emerging maybe as the number 2 receiver to own that offense. All right, we're almost through the 10th round. We're going to stop going over the draft at that point, Henry and I, and we're going to get to those interviews with all these owners, and we're also going to show you this draft board as well. So we had Christian Kirk, Jamison Crowder, CeeDee Lamb go at this point. So, Henry, let's look at these teams again. 10 rounds in, anyone really stand out to you that you think, wow, that team I think is the clear-cut winner at this point?
At this rate, I really like I can't read the name.
Jared, the first?
Yes, and then the person that took Michael Thomas. I really like both of those teams can have great seasons. Mahomes and McCaffrey, it's a deadly duo. I had that the year Mahomes stood out in his second year. I had those two at Hopkins. That was a deadly combo. This year again, that's going to be a deadly combo. And then the receiving core, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Devontae Parker. And when Deebo Samuel comes back, play him at the flex. And, yeah.
I agree.
Great.
I love his receivers. I just worry about that running back situation. I'm still going with team one at this point. Jared Eric is my team after 10 rounds. Really like his team. I think he's stacked at all the key positions, and I really like the Tyler Boyd pick even as a third receiver. I think he's a little undervalued at this time, Henry. So that's 10 rounds of the draft. Pretty exciting. So that's the Fantasy Championship. You can get into it on rtsports.com. You can click on the football link, top of the page. You can see the Fantasy Championship there. Or you can just go to fantasychampionship.com as well and go into it straight there. $250 to get in, $300,000 grand prize. Really the premier fantasy championship on the web. Just a great championship, and I highly recommend you get into it. That's 10 rounds of the draft. All these owners doing a great job. They're flying through this. We're going to talk to them here shortly, so stay tuned on this channel. Again, go to rtsports.com. You can sign up for this fantasy championship today. Henry, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we gave our viewers and listeners some insight into this great fantasy championship draft. And we'll get to more insight coming up, though. We're going to show you that draft board and also get to all the interviews with the players in this league. Thanks a lot. And I'm now joined by the Deej. He had the 12th pick in the fantasy championship draft that you just watched here on RealTime Fantasy Sports. Deej, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it.
Nice to talk to you too, Jeff.
So you had the 12th pick. You went running back heavy to start. 3 running backs, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake, Jonathan Taylor. Was this a plan for you before the draft? Did you want to go running back heavy?
I did. I think running backs kind of shallow this year. I think it really fades off after round 5. Like you maybe have Mostert, James White, a couple guys like that in round 5 that you can really depend on maybe. But so I want at least 3 of my first 4 all year this year to be running back. It seems to shallow out as quick as tight end did before. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with having the last pick in the round 2, did that change your strategy at all going into it, or was it still, go running back heavy early, no matter where your pick is?
I just like Calvin Ridley to break out this year, man. That Atlanta team's going to have to throw a lot. Same with Houston. I mean, just those are my 2 big, they have to throw a lot teams. So.
Yeah, so I mentioned you have Mixon, Drake, Taylor, and then you went 3 receivers, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Marquis Brown, and then Evan Ingram, Brandon Cooks, Drew Brees, Eric Ebron, Matthew Stafford. So tell me about maybe some of the tough decisions you had with some of those picks. Were there any that you were really, had some problems pulling the trigger on, some decisions that were tough for you in this draft?
Mixon, I feel like he has positive touchdown progression. Taylor, I think he's a second half TFC type running back you want at the end of the year behind that offensive line. The receivers, they all speak for themselves. And on top of that, Marquis Brown put on 20 pounds this offseason, which a lot of people don't know. He went from 165 up to 185. So he's a lot bigger. And they're going to have to put 7 or 8 in the box a lot to stack that run. So he's going to not command a lot of double teams like other teams will. So, and then, just kind of went from there. Tight end, I like my tight ends. They have upside. Quarterbacks, Stafford and Brees have always been 2 of the best. Stafford's on a pass-heavy offense. Brees, he's got Michael Thomas. He has Emmanuel Sanders added now. Cook. Kamara's a pass-catching running back, which is his number one running back. All the signs point up for Brees as value in that round.
It's funny with the quarterback position. I mentioned during the draft, I said Brees is okay as a low-end number one. I said I feel good about him, though, if you can pair him with someone like Matthew Stafford, and then you took him 2 rounds later, which was pretty ironic. So
I just got to have 2 here.
Yeah. So the QB position, too, is that one that is this your strategy with it a little bit? Pair 2 guys, kind of wait on it, and pair 2 guys later in the draft? Is that the way you've approached it?
50-50. I've taken a lot of Mahomes and Lamar Jackson too. I like them. If I have a late pick, obviously I'm not going to reach at the beginning of the second round and take Lamar Jackson or Mahomes that early with the quality still left on the board and the positional, divide between points. So you can't take Lamar Jackson pick 13-1 in my opinion. You can't.
Gotcha. All right. So the draft's over with now, Deej. How do you feel about your team? Now that it's over.
Great. I bet Drake was my most worrisome running back. I drafted Edmonds to back him up. Got the Steelers defense. I'm a Steelers fan. Black and gold behind me on the wall. You see that?
Yeah.
But I like it. Tampa Bay kicker. I think was it Tampa Bay kicker? I think it was. I've done so many drafts.
No, you took Zane Gonzalez, another
yes.
start off.
You know why? Gonzalez? Because he doesn't have a red zone target, in my opinion. He doesn't have a big tight end. He has little wide receivers, and maybe he runs for it. Kenyon Drake, but he doesn't really have a red zone target. That's why I liked him.
All right, Deej. Well, good luck in all your leagues. We know you're a loyal user of our site, but this is a great league, and I'm sure there's a lot of good owners in it, and I'm sure it's going to be a battle. But good luck. We appreciate you playing, and thanks a lot for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. And one more thing, I'm going to beat AC and the TFC and the BBC this year on top of the stand. We've had a rivalry forever. You guys know it. Everybody on RT Sports knows it. Calling you out this year, AC. I'm going to finish it.
Trash talk's awesome. We like it. All right.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I'm joined now by Tom Delbridge. He had the 11th pick in the fantasy championship draft you just watched here on the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. Tom, thanks so much for joining me. So I just want to get your first reaction from the draft now that it's over with. How are you feeling about your team?
I feel pretty good. It was pretty intense. It's my first TFC, actually. So it was an interesting draft for me. A lot of experienced players, but they're all good people, and it was a good draft. I feel pretty confident.
So first pick, you went Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie from Kansas City. Was he a target of yours? Did you think about when you saw you had the 11th pick, was this someone you were going to go for?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for Eckler or Sanders. I like Helaire, but he wasn't my first pick, but he was my fallback, so I went with him.
All right, so then you went let's recap the draft for everybody watching out there. You had Aaron Jones, then Adam Thielen, Mark Andrews, James White, Tyler Lockett, Hayden Hearst, Josh Allen, Tevin Coleman, John Brown, Anthony Miller, A.J. Dillon, Sammy Watkins, Darwin Thompson, Joe Burrow, LaShawn McCoy, Jake Elliott, Randall Cobb, Tennessee Titans defense, and D.D. Westbrook. So out of those picks, was there certain ones that stood out, and when it comes to tough decisions, was there any that were really, pulling your hair out?
Yeah, the Hayden Hearst pick. That was kind of controversial. I think I kind of picked some of the guys tight end they were targeting, and it was kind of like I wanted to get Watson or Wilson as my quarterbacks, and those two guys went right before me, and I got a little off kilter and just went with something I felt that was safe at the time, and I kind of got some ribbing for that, but I think it's a good pick because it's a 10-team league. I can start him in the second flex spot if I need to. I think it takes away from the other guys in the league. A good tight end or a decent tight end, so I think it's going to be a good pick.
So the QB position, is this one that I just asked the previous owner, are you waiting on it this year? Or you're acting early? You went with Josh Allen. I believe he was the 7th QB off the board, or 8th.
Yeah, something like that. 8th round.
Is this your strategy with the QB position this year? You kind of waiting on it, or are you acting early at all?
It depends. I mean, if it's just hit and miss. Some of these guys, I see Lamar going sometimes. It went kind of late this time. I've seen Lamar go in the 4th. Patrick Mahomes tends to go first, and I don't know if I feel comfortable with my 2 running backs with my first 2 picks, and if Mahomes and Jackson are there at the right time, then I'll jump on them usually. But I feel there's a lot of value kind of like after those guys, so you can get some good picks in between. Dak Prescott was somebody who I wanted. Wilson and Watson were people that I wanted. So Allen, I think, is a good fallback to those two guys.
So, Tom, what was it like picking towards the end of the round? Was that hard? How did that impact your decision making? So I see in the first round the first 2 rounds you went running back. Was there any thought going running back receiver at all, or are you just worried about what was going to be left at running back by the time it got back to round 3?
It's a combination. I'm worried about what's going to be left. Of course, those top running backs, they go quick. With DeAndre Hopkins being on a new team, I was just kind of skeptical. Not skeptical, but I just wasn't willing to jump on him. And Adams, I'm just not super hot. So, I felt that going with the 2 quarterback first 2 rounds was a good way to do it. And then 3rd round coming back, jumping on, a good wide receiver.
Yeah, I like the Adam Thielen pick a lot too. I think he has a lot of potential.
That was actually
100+ catches maybe.
Going back to your earlier question, Thielen was actually a really hard pick for me because I had actually wanted to go with maybe Juju, A.J. Brown, and I had a hard time making that pick on Adam Thielen, but I think it was a good pick.
How about some surprises in the draft? Anything stand out to you? I know the Tyreek Hill pick at 5 was probably the biggest surprise, but anything else?
That was an interesting pick so early. No, nothing really jumped out at me. I think overall I saw a lot of handcuffs going early. So I kind of lost out on my handcuff for Hilaire. I kind of wanted to get Washington, but that's why I fell back to Thompson later. So it's kind of a little bit of a value maybe. You never know. And in this kind of league, you got to have those guys and, take the chance because you never know, especially on Kansas City when those guys are going to step up.
Yeah, totally true. Tom, well, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Good luck in this fantasy championship. We appreciate you playing, and we good luck in all your leagues this year. I'm sure you're in several of them, but really wish you a lot of luck in this one and appreciate you coming on with me.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
I'm joined now by Andrew Cummings. Andrew had the 10th pick in the fantasy championship draft that just took place here that you watched. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I just want to get your thoughts. You just finished the draft. You're done with it. How do you feel about your team?
I think I did pretty well. Getting it was actually the 9th pick, but getting that 9th pick is kind of a bad spot to be in because usually the top 4, top 5 is pretty easy in the back end, but that 9th pick was pretty difficult. But we had some surprises early, which pushed some players to me at 9, which I was pretty happy about. So I'm pretty excited about the team.
So Miles Sanders, I think he's a little bit of a polarizing fantasy figure. I know there's some people higher on him than others. Some people are more down on him. I'm kind of high on him. I think he's set up for a good year. I just want to get your thoughts on him. You must feel pretty good about him, obviously, because you took him at 9. But what's your overall thoughts on Sanders?
Yeah, I see him as I saw McCaffrey 2 years ago when McCaffrey's going late first, early second round area where you thought, okay, so you're going to take McCaffrey, you're going to get your first round talent out of him. Miles Sanders, I'm thinking he's that same dynamic player as McCaffrey. I think if he gets the ball, which he should with the Eagles system with Carson Wentz back and the weapons that they have, the new draft pick and Regard, I think he's going to be pretty solid, especially with his receiving abilities. We get that receiving and rushing capabilities along with my second pick in Josh Jacobs. So I got two tandems there that can do both. So it's a pretty strong backfield right there with those two.
Yeah, were you a little surprised Jacobs was there for you in the second round? Because I've seen him kind of start inching up to that late first round spot. Were you surprised Jacobs was there for you to take?
No, that's pretty much what I've seen. He's usually about that. Sometimes he goes around that 12th, 13th pick. But I thought there's a chance he could get to me with once I got Sanders. I took that chance. He was there. That was an easy decision right there. So
I want to recap your team here for everybody watching and listening out there. So you have Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, then you got Cooper Kupp in the third, then Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Watson, Tyler Higbee, Keyshawn Vaughn, Daryl Henderson, Alan Lazard, Damian Harris, Jared Goff, Blake Jarwin, Jace Sternberger, Sam Darnold, Los Angeles Rams defense, Larry Fitzgerald, Justice Hill, Brandon McManus. So I've been asking everybody this question. How about some tough picks? What were some of the tougher selections for you out there that you really had either debating between two people or just picking the player in general because of maybe injury concerns or something like that?
Yeah, Keyshawn Vaughn in 9th and then Daryl Henderson in 10th was difficult. I almost took Madison there where I took Henderson just in case Cook went down. So those two picks were a little bit difficult. I was teetering between Tevin Coleman as well when I took Keyshawn Vaughn. The other one would have been Stafford going there at the end of the 11th was difficult because I almost took him where I took Lazard, and I thought, well, maybe he would flip around to me, and that didn't happen. So that was kind of a disappointment. And then Damian Harris, I think, is probably like an ace in the hole, a wild card. He could do something or he could do absolutely nothing. So with Sony Michel, you don't know what he's going to do with his injury. Harris, with that coaching staff, you never know, but he could definitely surprise. So, I would say 9th and 10th round were pretty difficult decisions right there.
So Allen Robinson, you got him as your number 2 receiver. I was a little surprised to see him fall as far as he did. I'm sure I'm not probably quite as high as some. I've seen some people consider him, like a low-end number 1, but I'm not quite that high. I still like him, though, but I thought you got really good value with him.
Yeah.
The spot you picked him. I'm sure you were happy with that pick.
Getting him at the 4th round was a surprise. Usually he's middle of 3, end of 3. Usually around the end of 3, you don't see him make it past end of the 3rd round. I was actually thinking Kupp and Ridley, but Ridley went. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I was sweating there at where Jim took Cortland Sutton. I was hoping Robinson would get to me, and he did. I thought maybe he might take Robinson there, but yeah, I was pretty excited to get Allen Robinson in the 4th round. That was pretty good.
So you got Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. Is getting one of these, he's kind of in that top 5 range. Has that been a target of yours in draft, trying to get maybe one of the more elite QBs, or is this a position you normally wait on? How do you normally approach it?
6th, 7th, 8th round area is usually when I take the quarterback. You don't see too much of a drop off from Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, obviously your top 2. But you're looking at their point totals from Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. I mean, you're only talking 30, 40-point difference. So in my mind, you can wait. I mean, other people are going to take those quarterbacks in the top 3, 4 rounds, but you can still get a solid quarterback in the 6th, 8th round area. Deshaun Watson is, I mean, you're right there. Dak, Murray, Wilson, Watson, you're only talking like a 5, 15-point difference. To me, it makes sense to take a quarterback there, and usually you get Watson that's in the 6th, 7th round area.
So in a lot of these big championship games like this, you have to really win in the middle to later rounds, find that player that's going to produce for you big. Is there anybody you've been targeting this year? And if so, did you get him in this draft as well? Or are there any players that fit that bill for you?
Yeah, I like Alan Lazard. I think he could be a surprise. He's slated to be the 2nd receiver behind Devontae Adams. Anthony Miller, I'm high on. N'Keal Harry, I like him a lot. And Darius Slayton is another one too as well. So those would be my mid-round players that I would go for. And then Daryl Henderson, even though Rams picked Cam Akers, I see it as Rams fan as a dual 50-50 split. I think they're both going to do well. You might actually see similar to what the Panthers did back in the day with Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo when they had 2,000-yard running backs. So I think Daryl Henderson has a chance to do pretty well there. So, those are pretty much my players I've been targeting in the mid to late rounds.
All right, Andrew, great stuff. I really appreciate you joining me. I wish you a lot of luck in this league and all your leagues. I know you're a loyal user of our site. I appreciate you coming on and joining me. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
You too. I'm joined now by Jared Eric. He had the pleasure of picking first in the Fantasy Championship draft tonight. Not a tough decision going Christian McCaffrey 1. Jared, you didn't have any thought going anybody else, right? Nope. All right, let's go over your team here real quick. You have Christian McCaffrey, then you went Kenny Golladay, Patrick Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Cam Akers, Tyler Boyd, J.K. Dobbins, Tariq Cohen, Mike Gesicki, Sterling Shepard, T.J. Hawkinson, Mike Williams, Darrington Evans, Raquel Armstead, N'Keal Harry, Jimmy Garoppolo, Robbie Gould, Philadelphia Eagles defense, Malcolm Brown, and Gerald Everett. So I think the big question for me is the second and third round. So what was your thought process before the draft? Were you looking to go receiver and then maybe try to get Mahomes or Lamar Jackson at that spot? Was that your strategy?
Yeah, when I saw I drew number 1, I figured I would have the option of Mahomes or Lamar. I have Mahomes a little ahead of Lamar. So receiver, running back, best available. Didn't matter which. So Golladay was the highest guy I had rated.
So having that first pick, is that what kind of influences you in the second and third round, maybe not to look at running back since you have that sure thing? Was there any running back in those spots that you would have taken if they were available, or were you just going to go with, getting Mahomes and an elite number 1 receiver?
No, definitely. If some of the guys, running backs that would have fallen to me, I would have absolutely taken, like Chubb or Josh Jacobs went a little bit earlier, but I had him on my list. Those guys I would have absolutely swiped up.
Gotcha. So you got Cam Akers as your number 2 back. Obviously, you have to feel pretty good about him this year in Los Angeles, or otherwise you wouldn't have taken. But what are your expectations for him this year?
I'm a little higher on him than probably most people are. It was between him and Swift, and I was a little bit ahead of him. I just think he's got doesn't have the competition for carries, Kerryon Johnson there in Detroit. So I thought that he was going to have a better opportunity to be an RB2 by the end of the season. So
A.J. Brown, too, I skipped over him a little bit, but I really like Brown this year. I think he has potential to maybe even be top 10. So is this a guy you've been targeting in drafts as well, or was just the best available type situation here? Or was this?
Yeah, honestly, he was kind of fell into my lap. Don't normally target him a ton because I don't trust Tannehill. But since he fell into my lap, he's a playmaker. He does some great things. I was absolutely jumping on when he was there. I took him.
So the tight end position, you went with Gesicki and Hawkinson. Is this how you normally approach a tight end position, maybe going with that platoon way, or do you sometimes go up early and try to get one of the elite guys?
It depends. If I'd had Kittle or Kelsey or somebody like that, I would absolutely just probably not touch a tight end until the end of the draft. But when I have to go with the 2 young guys that are hoping to bounce up and become top 10 guys, top 8 guys, I decided to snag 2 of them.
So now that the draft's over with, what are your overall impressions of your team, though? Are you feeling good? Did it play out like maybe you expected? Did pieces fall into place for you, think?
Yeah, I mean it's tough to win these. It's tough to win this league by itself, right? So not mention the big prize. So it's going to be hard. It's a pretty stacked draft room. I didn't hate my team. I didn't love my team. Obviously, getting the first pick is nice, right? So you start with the best running back in football and the best quarterback in football. So I was pretty happy to get those 2 guys.
What about the first pick?
I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think Fab's going to be real important this year with obviously with COVID and whatnot going on. So, go ahead.
So the first pick, though, are you thrilled when you get that, or is this something? I mean, would you rather pick towards the end of the round, or is the first pick, your optimal draft selection if you had to pick?
If I'm picking first. I mean, McCaffrey's too much of a playmaker to not take. And I mean, by week 13, right, and this format's kind of rough, and you got a semifinal, and you have your number one pick out. But you can't pass up on McCaffrey, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think the big surprise was Tyreek Hill going at 5. But besides that, was there anything else that maybe stuck out to you in this draft that surprised you? Maybe trends where positions are getting picked in certain spots or specific players as well. Anything stand out?
Not a ton of them. I thought Allen Robinson was a steal. I thought he was early in the 4th round. I thought that whoever got him got a great pick. There were a few of them.
Same thing. I just talked to he was the last guy, and I said I can't believe he lasted that long. I don't think I'm as high on him as some fantasy experts. I was still surprised he lasted that long, though. That was a surprise.
Exactly. I mean, top 15, top 10 receiver, I think probably for sure. And he was kind of one that Juju was the other guy that I was hoping was going to fall to me, and somebody snagged maybe 4 or 5 picks before me.
How about tough decisions? Any really tough ones for you where you really debated between 2 players or something along those lines?
Honestly, not really. Do enough of these things that you kind of have your guys lined up when you want to pick them, and you just, in a snake draft, not an auction. It's you're just bang, 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 pick them quick.
All right, Jared, I really appreciate you joining me. I wish you a lot of luck in this league and all your leagues this year, and we appreciate you being a loyal RealTime Fantasy Sports customer, and good luck in all your leagues. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
I'm joined now by Ralph Schiavon. Ralph has been a regular on these. He's done the Best Ball podcast and video with me. Really appreciate that. He was also on the Champs Draft. Ralph, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here, Jeff.
So, Ralph, you had the 4th pick in the Fantasy Championship draft tonight. You went Alvin Kamara. Was there any debate on another person at that spot? I know Michael Thomas and Dalvin Cook are probably the other 2 choices. Did you have any hesitation at all with taking Kamara?
No, he moved up. Earlier in the year, I was taking Thomas in the 4th slot. He was my regular 4th pick. But the last month or so, I kind of flip-flopped them and decided to go with Kamara and just over him. And just, because of the value of the running backs, both picks are good. I've been going with Kamara in the 4 hole.
All right, so I'm going to recap your draft for everybody watching and listening out there. So you got Kamara, then you got Julio Jones, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, DJ Shark, Jarvis Landry, Kyler Murray, Darius Slayton, Kerryon Johnson, Christian Kirk, Noah Fant, Naheem Hines, Jonnu Smith, Baker Mayfield, Harrison Butker, James Washington, Chicago Bears defense, Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Richard, and Chase Claypool. So, Ralph, let me ask you about the tough decisions. What were some that you really debated over? Maybe some other player you were hoping land to you, or that you were debating on picking who was still there. Was there any really, really tough choices for you?
I made a mistake on the 3rd pick. I lost track of my time. I didn't want to stop the draft because it was my screw up. But I wasn't really looking for Carson because he's got the same bye week as Kamara.
Gotcha.
I got my 2 running backs the same. That's a mistake I almost never make. I never make that mistake because I always watch my bye weeks. Because I look for Connor, and I always take Allen Robinson early. So that's the situation I had, forcing me to take Montgomery the next round so that I had at least somebody other than I had to have somebody out of the bye week 8. But then, I got DJ Chark, who I'm really high on, to go with Julio Jones, a good 1-2 punch. And I got Jarvis Landry, who I was pretty happy to get in round 6. I'm higher on him the most, but he's never gone under. I don't think he's ever gone under 1,000 yards or 90 catches. I don't expect him to do any differently this year. He's got a decent quarterback. And then Kyler Murray fell to me in the middle of the 7th round. I normally don't take quarterbacks that early, but I couldn't pass that up. So taking Murray in the 7th was, to me, a pretty good little steal there because normally he's going earlier. I have him as my number 3 quarterback. So, I don't, like I say, don't normally get quarterbacks early, but if he falls to me like that, and if you want to talk about the rest of them, I can tell you about my other picks there if you want.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Murray and Prescott. I think that's debate on the third one. So you value Murray a little higher.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, it's a toss-up. I mean, I just value Murray just a hair above Prescott. Not a whole lot. I mean, I've got him right back to back in my rankings. I got them right next to each other.
It's a common question I've asked a lot of the participants in this draft tonight, but the QB position in general. Do you usually act on it around this time? Usually wait a little longer, or maybe act a little sooner? What's your strategy there?
I mean, I'm picking my first quarterback in around the 9th or 10th round. But if I get a value, I mean, to me, I thought Kyler Murray. If I can get him in the 7th round, I'm going to get him. I normally don't get Mahomes or Jackson unless they fall late 3rd or early 4th. So I don't normally grab them that early. I don't go after them that early. But same thing with Prescott. I would take him in the same spot. He went in the 6th round. So those are the only, and I like Russell Wilson as well. I'll take those 3 guys in 7th. If they're sitting out there, other than that, I'm not going until the 9th or 10th round usually.
Okay, so how about targets? I know you've done a lot of drafts. Are there certain players you've been targeting, mainly, the mid-round players that kind of, could make or break you? Are there any players that you're looking at that point that you've been getting a lot of drafts?
Yeah, I'm getting – yeah, I get a lot of Allen Robinson because he's high. And I have not so much now, but I was getting Leonard Fournette sometimes in the 3rd or 4th round. I was getting a lot of him. Look at my draft here. I do have some of the same guys. I don't have them this round here, but I do get Hunter Henry a lot. So I do end up with, because of the way I set up my, my own personal draft sheet. Certain guys fall because I'm higher. I have a lot of Keenan Allen. I've dropped him down a little bit because he kept on falling to me in the 6th, 7th round sometimes. So some of these guys that fall, because I still think they got some value. I'm picking them up the 8th, 9th round sometimes. I get a lot of them because people stay away from them.
So I've asked a lot of the previous participants in these Zoom calls, and I want to ask you too, because you guys do a lot of drafts. Anything stand out to you in this draft? Maybe surprise you at all? I know the Tyreek Hill pick is the one common theme, but
yes, that was
anything else stand out?
Not really. There was not a whole lot of things that they didn't quite go in my. I mean, certain players fell to me, faster than I thought because they normally go sooner. But all in all, I would think it was pretty much. There was a couple early picks that I mean, Daryl Henderson at 10th, I think, is a stretch. There's a couple other ones there. A.J. Dillon at 12th. There's a few stretches in there that I probably wouldn't have taken, but other guys may feel differently about them. So, to each his own. They probably don't like my picks. So, no, not really. Not too much. I mean, the problem is when you get down, I mean, one thing I don't normally do is I took a kicker in the 15th round, but Harrison Buck was there, but it started getting really thin. So I decided to, I had most of my, I had my starting lineup, and I had my first line of backups. So I decided to go ahead and go with him. And with the Bears in the 17th. So I don't normally go kicker defense that early, but I had pretty much accomplished what I wanted to do.
So I want to ask you one more question, Ralph. I know you've played in a lot of these contests. I just want to know your fab strategy. Well, how do you handle your money? How do you handle your money during the season? I know there's different theories on this, but I just want to get your thoughts for all our.
Yeah, I mean, fab is tough. I mean, you have to be judicious with your fab. Okay. The thing is, if you lose, let's say you lose a top line starter. Let's just say, for example, Alvin Cook goes down, and for some strange reason, Madison's on the wire. But you're gonna go all out. You're gonna go with 80% of your fab money. $800. I mean, because that's the running backs. When running backs become available on fab, you're gonna have to pay for them. Okay? That's just the way it is. I've done enough of these drafts in the past and know that and that's why a lot of us pick up running backs early, because we know how difficult it is to get them in the season. I mean, I've backed off a little bit, but I was going running back 3 out of 5. I did this draft here, 3 out of my first 4 picks, because I know that if you have to go to the fab to get a running back, it's going to be tough. And, if somebody who's going to be a starter all of a sudden surfaces, you're bidding against everybody else. Otherwise, you've got to have to manage that money like you would your own budget at home. I've seen guys go in all out, spend $900 the first week, and, in the season they've got nothing. I usually end up with no money at the end of the season. My fab is gone. I mean, somewhere along the line, I'm gonna get it. You can't take it with you. So ending up with a lot of fab money is, you don't want to do that. So it's tough. You have to be pretty smart about your fab money. That's a big part of winning a league. I mean, drafting is part of it. Although there's, people argue with me, but I think there's also some luck involved. Who knows who's going to get hurt? And then you've got to really figure out how you work the waiver wire. Waiver wire is really important. The guys that really win a lot, they do a good job working that waiver wire. And almost all of them, we do our fab. I mean, very few. I think I got one worse the first league I'm doing.
Okay.
All I do are fab.
All right, Ralph, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you joining me as always, and good luck in this fantasy championship.
Thanks, man.
And good luck in all your leagues this season, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon. Thanks a lot,
All right,
Ralph.
Jeff. It's always nice talking to you. Take care. See you now.
I'm joined now by Jeremy Brock. He had the 8th pick in the fantasy championship draft that you just watched here on the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. Jeremy, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Good to be here, Jeff. How's it going today?
Oh, not bad. So got to ask you about your first pick. You had Derrick Henry you took with the 8th pick. Was this an easy decision for you, a hard one? What were your thoughts on getting Henry?
Well, being about the 8th pick, there was not as many running backs coming off the board as I thought there would be, so he was still there for me. Things have switched around a lot this year. Getting Henry, I knew he was going to be a power back, running a lot. They're going to feed him the ball. So I was happy with getting him. The other guys, they had good breakout years last year, but I don't promise that they're going to do anything this year. He's proven that he's going to get to tote the rock this year, so I was happy with getting him.
All right, so I think the big question be second round, Travis Kelce. Was this a target of yours? You've been going for Kelce in the second round. I know it kind of changes the whole dynamic of your draft when you take a tight end that early. Was Kelce a target of yours?
Well, I do like taking Kelce because, to me, he's like an upside wide R1. Possibly 2 other tight ends can meet his volume that he's going to get this year. But overall, he will have the top volume. And I can find more receivers and the other running backs in the next couple of rounds, but there's only going to be one him. So I like to snag him with the second running back following him.
So I want to recap your draft so everybody can see or hear about your team. You took Derrick Henry in the first, and you went Kelce, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram, Dak Prescott, Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, Justin Jefferson, Adrian Peterson, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, Carlos Hyde, Jack Doyle, Greg Zuerlein, Buffalo Bills defense, Phillip Rivers, Kansas City Chiefs defense, O.J. Howard, and Deion Lewis. So obviously your strategy was go running back heavy early and then load up at receiver. You only start 2 in this format. Is this a strategy you've been employing a lot, or is this just what you wanted to do for this league? Is this how you normally approach drafts?
Well, it depends on the tournament, the style, format, with all the stuff that I'm doing. This one, having the extra flex spot and the season that we're in, where who knows what depth could go anywhere. We could lose a player for 2 weeks. Who knows? I wanted to make sure that I had a lot of running backs in there in case something went bad. I picked a running back on a few teams earlier this year that's no longer with us because of guys. So, yeah, I wanted to make sure that I got some starters in the first part and not the last part that I was taking a gamble on this time.
So let's talk about some of the receivers you took, though, because you're obviously going to need those guys to hit. You have Will Fuller was the first receiver you drafted. You have Marvin Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman. What do you like about some of those guys? You think they're – obviously you do think it or you wouldn't have taken them, but you think there's breakout capability for some of these guys?
Well, with all the rookies, it just depends. One of them got to be the bust out player, right? There's a lot of talent through all of them. They're all first round talent, if you ask me. Some of them got moved to a second round or something because of just the way the draft went. But most of them could have gone in the first round, if you ask me, for the 3 or 4 of the receivers. And Pittman's going to get thrown right into the starting lineup. Justin Jefferson, he's probably going to get over 100 balls thrown his way. Hopefully he catches most of them. And then as far as the other guys, Jerry, Judy, and Pittman, I mean, one of those guys might – I mean, Judy could outdo anybody else, but as far as Will Fuller and Marvin Jones, they're going to get my season started. And then hopefully the rookies can catch up after a few games, and I'll be able to decide which one of those will be my filler for later in.
So Dak Prescott, you took him in the 6th round before you had a receiver on your roster yet. Was that a tough decision for you, or were you just like the value at that point? I just wanted to get your thoughts on Prescott.
That's actually a good question because I probably normally would have waited one more round for the quarterback. Sometimes in these things, guys get a little quarterback heavy, and you'll see them come off the board, and you try not to follow the trend that's going on. Sometimes you can manipulate the trend and get your guy out the way, and then they'll start to bite on stuff, and what you want can actually get back to you because they alter their plan thinking they're going to miss out on a top player. It just really depends. I think Prescott got a great schedule this year, a lot of talent around him, and I didn't want to miss out on a top scoring shelf player like that. And I figured I can find depth later. If they started hitting him before he got back to me, I might not have got one, and then I would have had to possibly got a player that had a bye week during the championship that I wasn't fond of.
So Dak, that sounds like this Dak Prescott pick was a tough one for you. Any other tough ones for you? Anything you really, any spots you really debated?
Not so much. After I got the tight end out the way and the quarterback out the way and the running backs out the way, I can choose through a lot of the different receivers I want to play around with. I can't go looking for those running backs later because they're just simply not going to be there. Plenty of wide receivers. Now, which wide receiver is the right one? Big question there, but I've got a few of them, so we'll find out if one of them – because I'm usually those as pretty much as a flex. The running backs are going to be the solid staple of my team, and if I get lucky that a couple of those receivers really break out, then that's even better, of course. Otherwise, if 10 to 12 points out of each one of those guys a week, it'll be steady.
So, Jerry, I've asked pretty much everybody else I've talked to this question. I want to get your thoughts too. Surprises. Anything stand out to you? I know Tyreek Hill's the one, kind of surprised in that first round, being the first receiver taken. But anything really stand out to you? I know it wasn't really we had a lot of seasoned drafters, so there wasn't really anything that was too crazy. But anything stand out in your eyes?
Well, like you said, Tyreek Hill before Michael Thomas. That's different. But there's no really right or wrong. Everybody's a first-round talent in the first round, so it's just that's your guy. He's probably not going to get as many passes as Thomas or anybody, but he still at any time can throw you up some game-winning points. So it's not a bad pick. It's just a little different is all. Nothing too much really stuck out at me too different. When it starts to get in the further rounds, it's interesting to watch to see who values which running backs over the other ones at times, or what late round receiver that they decided that they think is going to be the breakout player. Every once in a while, you'll see, I think 11th round there, Steelers defense came off. That's a little early to be picking on a defense if you're asking me. But like I said, there's only one of them, and if that's this year's big point in defense, you went ahead and knocked them out the way, and you didn't lose no value. If they're not, there's a lot of other defense to be had later down that can probably get you the same amount of points.
All right, Jeremy, I really appreciate you joining me. We had you on the Champs Zoom call as well. That was awesome. You were great on there too, but appreciate you joining me today and talking about your draft. And we appreciate you being a loyal customer to RealTime Fantasy Sports. Good luck in this league and all your leagues. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be back. Talk to you guys later.